You can't tell me that you think football is the ultimate team sport, but you want to put this hyper focus on the quarterback position. Do I know that the quarterback position is unsolved? Yes, I do. But I also got data, and we'll get into it in this show, that shows me and tells me that top 5, top 10 quarterback play doesn't automatically equal to a winning season.
Everybody wants to talk about the Browns' quarterback battle. Who's QB1? Is it Shedeur Sanders? Can Dillon Gabriel surprise everyone? Is Deshaun Watson somehow still part of the picture? Those questions have taken over almost every Browns discussion this offseason. But here's the question nobody seems to be asking. What if the Browns don't actually need elite quarterback play to win more games? Seriously. Look around the NFL. Some of the best teams don't ask their quarterback to throw for 350 yards every week. They ask him to make smart decisions, protect the football, convert a few third downs, then let the rest of the roster do its job. That sounds simple, but it works. And when you look at how Cleveland is built right now, you can make a pretty strong case that this team doesn't need a superstar under center. It just needs someone who keeps the offense moving.
I don't know that I buy that. I think if you don't look at it as a competition, you've already lost the competition.
Right.
It is a competition. There's only 100%. One guy that's going to play. They're not going to do a 2-quarterback offense in Cleveland. One guy plays. One guy wins the job.
The funny part is, we've seen this story before. Every offseason, teams convince themselves that finding the next great quarterback fixes everything. Sometimes it does. Most of the time, it doesn't. A great quarterback can cover up problems. He can't erase them. If the offensive line struggles, he'll get hit. If the defense can't get off the field, he'll spend the whole game playing catch-up. If the run game disappears, defenses know exactly what's coming. That's why football has always been the ultimate team sport. One player can change a game, but 22 players decide a season. And that's why the Browns might be closer than people think. Not because they found the next Patrick Mahomes, because they might finally have a roster that doesn't need one. Let's start with the defense, because that's where this argument really begins. When your defense gives you extra possessions, the quarterback's job changes. He doesn't have to play hero. He doesn't have to force deep balls into tight coverage. He doesn't have to score on every drive. He just has to take advantage of the chances he's given. That's a completely different kind of football. Think about some of Cleveland's best wins over the past few years. How many of them came because the defense took over? A strip sack, an interception, a huge stop late in the fourth quarter. That's been this team's identity for a long time. And with players like Myles Garrett still leading the way, there's every reason to believe it can happen again. If your defense is already keeping games close, asking your quarterback to simply avoid costly mistakes isn't lowering the standard. It's playing to your strengths.
If I'm drafting these kids tonight or tomorrow night or Saturday, and I know they're going to have to play, how the hell am I getting them ready?
I think I want to
know.
It's a great point. And I would say the first thing is you've got to give me more time with my guys in the offseason.
Now let's flip the conversation. Instead of asking who has the highest ceiling, ask this: who gives Cleveland the best chance to stay on schedule? That sounds boring, but coaches love boring. 2nd and 5 is boring, 3rd and 2 is boring. A 6-minute drive that ends with a touchdown? Also boring. Until you're the team walking off the field with another win. The best offenses aren't always the most explosive. They're the ones that keep moving. 5 yards here, 8 yards there. A quick completion over the middle. A first down on 3rd and 3. Before you know it, the defense is tired and the scoreboard starts changing. That's football most fans don't notice, but coaches see it every Sunday. And that's exactly why this quarterback battle shouldn't be judged only by who throws the prettiest deep ball. It should be judged by who keeps the offense on time. There's another reason this matters. The Browns aren't rebuilding. They're trying to compete right now. That changes how you evaluate quarterbacks. You're not looking for someone to make 10 incredible plays every game. You're looking for someone who avoids the 2 mistakes that lose it. There's a huge difference. One wins highlights, the other wins football games.
He's working on getting the ball out faster, aligning his eyes and his footwork to what he's seeing. And I think what that happens is, let's get the ball out quickly.
Now, think about Todd Monken for a second. One of the first things people noticed after he arrived was how much he talked about building an offense around the players he has instead of forcing players into one system. That's important, because a good coordinator doesn't ask his quarterback to do everything. He asks him to do the right things. Maybe that's a quick throw to the flat. Maybe it's checking into a better run. Maybe it's taking a sack instead of forcing a turnover. Those plays don't end up on ESPN, but they keep drives alive. They help the defense rest, they help the offensive line settle in, and they build confidence across the entire offense. That's why this competition shouldn't be about who makes the biggest throws in training camp. It should be about who makes the smartest decisions once the regular season starts, because those are the decisions that usually decide close games. And if Cleveland gets that part right, this team might surprise a lot of people before anyone starts calling their quarterback a superstar. The more you think about it, the more this starts to make sense. The Browns don't need their quarterback to carry the team. They need him to fit the team. There's a big difference. A quarterback can throw for 375 yards and still lose by 2 touchdowns. Another can finish with 210 yards, 1 touchdown, no turnovers, and walk off the field with a win. One stat sheet looks impressive. The other one gets you into the playoffs. That's why chasing big numbers can be misleading. Winning football usually looks a lot simpler than people expect.
The Browns have life after Myles Garrett. The reigning Defensive Player of the Year now is a neighbor of ours, playing for the LA Rams, and the Browns have to move forward after a 5-12 season in Cleveland that brought out a coaching change, as I mentioned, with Todd Monken now at the helm, and a quarterback situation that is still very much in flux. Isaiah always shakes his head.
Think about the AFC North for a minute. Nobody hands you easy wins. Every game feels physical. Every possession matters, and one turnover can completely change the afternoon. That's why protecting the football becomes so valuable. You don't have to score every drive. You just can't keep giving the other team extra chances. Sometimes the smartest play is the one fans barely notice. Throw the check down, take the 5 yards, live to play another down. It might not end up on social media, but it keeps your offense on the field, and that's exactly what Cleveland needs. Now, here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. Quarterbacks don't play in isolation. Their confidence affects the entire offense. If the offensive line trusts the quarterback to get the ball out on time, they play faster. If receivers know the ball is coming where it's supposed to, they play with more confidence. If the running backs aren't constantly trying to erase long yardage situations, the entire playbook stays open. Everything starts working together. That's what coaches mean when they talk about complementary football. It's not a cliche. It's how good teams stay consistent over a long season.
Todd Monken's only going to care whether or not that they know the offense, that they can make the throws, but they really know the offense, and they can duck the offense, and they can move the ball down the field, and that he has confidence in him, and that the other players have confidence in their teammate. That's what matters here.
And maybe that's why this quarterback competition is actually a good thing. Nobody has been handed the job. Every practice matters. Every preseason drive matters. Every mistake gets noticed. That kind of competition forces players to improve. It also gives the coaching staff something they've needed for a while: real choices. Instead of hoping one quarterback figures everything out, they can evaluate who runs the offense the cleanest, who stays calm when the pocket starts collapsing, who bounces back after a bad throw. Because that's what Sundays look like. Nothing is perfect. Every quarterback is going to miss a receiver. Every quarterback is going to make a bad decision once in a while. The difference is what happens after that. Do you panic, or do you come back and lead a scoring drive? Those moments usually tell you more than a perfect deep ball in practice. There's another reason Browns fans should feel optimistic. This roster has more talent than people give it credit for. The defense can still change games. The offensive line has proven it can dominate when healthy. The running game has the pieces to control the tempo. There are playmakers at receiver. There are reliable tight ends. No team is perfect, but this isn't a roster that needs miracles every Sunday. It needs consistency, and consistency usually beats chaos over a 17-game season. So maybe we've been looking at this all wrong. Maybe the biggest story isn't which quarterback wins the competition. Maybe it's what happens after someone wins it. Can the Browns run the football? Can they stay healthy? Can the defense create short fields? Can the coaching staff put the quarterback in good situations instead of impossible ones? Because if those things happen, the quarterback doesn't have to be spectacular. He just has to be dependable. That's what separates good teams from desperate ones. The desperate teams ask their quarterback to save them every week. The good teams don't put him in that position to begin with. And honestly, that might be the biggest lesson Cleveland has learned over the last few seasons. The roster doesn't need one player to do everything. It needs everyone doing their job. If the quarterback protects the football, if the defense plays the way it's capable of, if the running game controls the pace, this team is going to be in a lot more fourth quarter games than people expect. And once you're consistently playing meaningful football in the fourth quarter, anything can happen. Maybe the Browns won't have the best quarterback in the AFC. Maybe they won't have the flashiest offense either. But if they become one of the smartest and most disciplined teams in the conference, they're going to win more games. And that's really the point. This season isn't about finding the next Patrick Mahomes. It's about finding the quarterback who gives this roster the best chance to play winning football. That player doesn't have to be elite. He just has to make the next play, then the next one. And before you know it, the Browns might be winning a lot more than anyone expected.